And it's not you, it's the phone. It picks up random numbers.
That's what we approved. Yeah.
Yeah, as part of, so 99, we approved 99.
Right.
But there are other.
Do we need to go back to it, or think we're
No,
okay.
that's the
good.
right.
So that's what was confusing to me, was the 77.
Yeah, that's really 70,
okay.
Basically.
And I couldn't remember because it had gotten lowered, and I just didn't know why.
Yep.
Okay. It is 7 p.m., so I will call the regular Board of Finance meeting to order. And we've got a bunch of stuff to go through, but some of it is, I don't think the agenda is going to take us that long to go through this evening. We've got some previews of CapEx for next week. And we're going to start with other associations. If I could just ask for a roll call for folks, give a shout out on the phone, please.
Adam Burrows.
Adam. BJ.
Anna Ryder.
Anna. Okay. Mary Jo. Great.
Yes.
And we've got in the room, we've got Matt Olson, we've got Jude Reed, we've got Andy Russell, myself, and Garvin, the Board of Finance. So we got a full team. Good stuff. Except for Maria, that's right. It's true. And I think she got sworn in this week.
She got sworn in the day before I did.
Oh, okay.
Last week.
I don't know if she got the agenda. Yeah. And she didn't call me tonight, so anyway, all right.
Could you have her call me so I can get her contact information for my sheet?
Yeah, I thought I'd given you.
I don't have any information on her.
I thought I gave you her.
Email or
She probably didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have anything on her, no phone
It's
number.
tough time to jump in the middle of budget season anyway.
All right. Maria info.
If she just gives me a call, that would be great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So okay. Other associations. We've got a couple of guests in the room, and so let me see. We can move the Lyme Academy College of Fine Arts up. And Jude, what was the other one that we've?
No, that's it.
We've got Limewood. That's it.
For guests.
Yeah, for guests. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to move up the Lyme Academy College of Fine Arts. Garvin.
Second.
Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You ready?
Good.
Do you want to come up, did you? Yeah, you want to guide?
Well, a little bit. I met with Mike last week, along with Maura and Jordan.
Yes.
At the academy, and I felt that because there was so much going on there now, and it's changed so much, and it's very exciting, that it would be good if Mike came to present what the status is, what's going on, and I understand your request this year through Nicole is for $20,000. We do not have a lot of preliminary budget or anything yet, but we can get one if we need one.
And what we have done in the past, my recollection, is that we have made a contribution, and it was important because of grants and things to demonstrate that the community had some support behind you and that sort of thing, right? So just as a little bit of reminder background. So
right, and you are going to be offering programs this summer, taking on students for the fall.
Yes.
And it's not a college, but an academy. So with that in mind, Mike will explain what's happening at the academy.
Sure. So we've pretty much really turned over almost the entire organization. Got a number of new board members at the Lyme Academy. We hired a new executive director. She just ended her first month on the job. We've got a new artistic director. He too has just ended his first month on the job. There's a lot of new energy in the place. And I think it comes after a period where there was some soul searching about whether there was still a call for our mission and whether we were still a viable organization. So I'm happy to report that we've got a group of people that are really enthusiastic about restarting the academy. And as Jude said, one of the keys is going to be that we're an academy, not a college. We're not going to seek accreditation. The idea is not to grant degrees, but to attract people who want to build their skills towards mastery, rather than credit accumulation towards a degree. And the result of that, you guys know the Chandler building, which is the new building on campus. We rent that out now and get revenue from that. Previously, that had been filled with administrators and other staff that are all a part of the infrastructure you need to maintain accreditation. So walking away from that model, I think allows us to bring the price way down for students. So as opposed to $47,000 a year, you're talking about under $10,000 a year for tuition. So pretty significant difference. And the academy had struggled, as people who follow it pretty closely know, for many years with enrollment. How are we going to find students? How are we going to fill the seats? We think that bringing the price down in that way is going to attract more students and students who are there because they really want to study and master the basics and the fundamentals of art. It's a conservative idea in a way that art schools across the country often, ironically, don't teach students how to draw or paint or sculpt. It's crazy to think about, but you can graduate with a degree in fine arts and never take a class to learn those skills. And we very much want to focus on that. And that's when Elizabeth Chandler founded the place close to 50 years ago. That was the idea around which it was built.
So the teaching philosophy remains the same.
Teaching philosophy really goes back to that original, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it had gotten lost along the way, I think, in the last 10 or so years. And people around, I'm relatively new to Old Lyme. I've only been here for 2 years, and people around the table may know it better than I. Tim certainly does from his association with it. But I think during the University of New Haven years, it sort of did lose the thread of what it was originally founded to do.
I think it's important to note, too, that the creative director and the newly hired director have relocated here. Is it Jordan?
Jordan, yes.
I can't remember his last name.
Jordan, so
He is living in Boxwood with his wife, and Maura has relocated to Essex. Brought her mother with her, so this isn't just, gee, we'll do a summer program and see what's going to happen. I think it's a long-term commitment. And you keep talking about the 50th anniversary and trying to work towards that goal with the opening and the revision of the academy. I remember the last couple of years there was a big focus on video and graphic arts, a lot of really contemporary stuff, which is not, I'm not saying it's not art, but it seemed to be losing some of the fine arts approach. So I felt really excited to walk around there and talk to these folks last week. I think it's a good plan.
I think, thank you for saying that. I think another component that's important, I think, for you all to know is that one thing that I think had been lost is the connection with the town. I think that I've heard it told that people kind of stood apart from Old Lyme and didn't really engage with the town in the way that I think is going to be critical for its success. I think our success really depends on being connected to this community. So one, very concrete instance of that is thinking about where our students will live. And the apartments were built across the street. The developer now owns them. They're rented out to the public. We have no control over those. So when we're attracting students to town, I think that the most likely scenario is they're going to find a spare bedroom that somebody wants to rent out or something like that to live in. And I've heard it told that in the beginning, that was one of the ways that we helped students to find a place to live, is there was a list that was maintained of people who wanted to open up their homes and take in students. So this is very much, I think, a partnership that depends on us having a very good relationship with Old Line.
Hey, Mike, this is VJ Berblum speaking. I have recently read that the Academy intends to utilize the campus for other activities of interest to the community beyond the teaching of classical art. Could you speak to that for a minute? I thought that was quite exciting.
Yes, thank you for that question. We've got more facilities than we probably need for a small, focused art academy. So we're thinking about how we can best use those facilities. So for instance, we've got this wonderful library. I don't know, Jude, if you went downstairs to check that out.
I had never been there. I was startled. It was such a good library.
It's a gem.
And the view, just everything about it. And if we could share that with the community, that'd be a no-brainer.
So we're trying to figure out a way to make that accessible to folks who live in town. So I met with the staff over at the Phoebe Griffin Noyes, had a conversation with their board, joined their monthly board meeting in January to talk about, is there a way for us to partner with and just make it essentially an extension of the town's library. So if you've got a library card there, you could check out material there or use the library that we've got. So that's one example. The other is the old student cafeteria. Is there a way that we could get somebody in there to have some kind of food service that would be available not only to students, but to the town? And we realize that, again, that's a partnership, so we're not planning anything unilaterally, but there'd be lots of conversations.
But it'd be open to the public.
But it would very much be open to the public. So those are sort of two. Is it BJ on the phone?
Yeah, I remember also suggesting that, I mean, very imaginatively, right? A farmer's market on the campus or some other activities outdoors.
Exactly.
What were you? What am I remembering? What was suggested?
Yeah, the farmers market is our executive director. It's something she is passionate about, and her background was in economic development. She was in California, and she did that for a town in Northern California outside of Sacramento. And so a lot of her skills and experience come from that whole idea, which she has called placemaking, and thinking about how do we make this campus an active hub within the community. So the farmers market's one idea that she's been pushing.
Core is the academy, and then making good use of the real estate is something that will come, yeah.
Back to the library, when I walked down there and knowing that it's been sort of, I don't say inactive.
Yes.
I pictured having to dust off some ancient equipment and stuff. It's a really viable, complete, and technology-equipped library. You're not walking into a dungeon down there.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Super impressed by it.
So we're going to, back to your original question, Jude, this summer we'll have youth programs. Mm-hmm. We have a landscape academy that's starting up soon, and then the core program will start in September.
And I would expect you're working with the Art Association and the Floaters as well.
Yes, so our new executive director has reached out and sat down with the leaders at both of those institutions.
Thank you.
I'd like to commend you on what you're doing, because for the last 3 to 5 years, we've just looked at something that was a disaster happening. What you're telling me now is you're bringing in new programs, you're bringing in students. I think the last I heard, you might have had 17 students, is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
What's your projection? Do you think you're going to get up to another 60 to 80, or?
I think it's going to take a while.
Okay.
And I think that we could, this fall, we're starting late in the recruitment cycle. COVID's a wild card, so it's hard to know how that's going to play out. If we got 15 students for this fall, I'd be having 15 full-time students in addition to, I don't know, for the youth programming, we still haven't set any numbers or targets, but we want to get a lot of kids in this summer, middle school and high school, both.
Would people be able to sign up for a class and not be a full-time student in the fall?
Yes.
Say someone wanted to take drawing or painting or oil.
Yes.
So that would be able to.
So in addition to the full-time students, there'd be people who
So you
came
might
for
get
a
some
workshop
local
or,
people.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Matt?
How many students do you need to have enrolled full-time to get to like a zero, where you zero out your operating expenses that pays for it?
We think that the core full-time course of study will be for at least 2 years, and that some students will stay on for 3 or 4 years. And we think that each cohort will be probably up to 20 per year, so that at steady state you'd be 40 to 60 in that full-time. And then as Jude was asking about other offerings for, like if you wanted to take a course on the weekend or there was a workshop where you wanted to explore sculpting or painting, we want to have that open for people who are not full-time. So I think that core number is the one that we're really focused on, and I think that that'll probably, at a steady state, be between 40 and 60.
And that will allow you to operate without dipping into your reserves, is that correct?
Yes,
Schools
provided
never.
that
You always need fundraising.
provided that we get some decent fundraising every year,
Yeah.
and then also depending on if we rent out, say, the cafeteria, what kind of rent we get for that. Right now, with the France Foundation renting out the Chandler building, it's about $11,000 a month, so a little over $100,000 a year. So all of that will kind of contribute to getting to that steady state. And we'll probably adjust, but these are our projections now, and I'm sure we'll be revising again next year and the following year.
Are you modeling this after another school or facility, or are you guys reinventing the wheel?
So, good question. There's a network of similar kinds of schools across the country that have the same approach, and they seem to, and I looked specifically for comparators that were outside of big cities, and I found about 36 of them, and they seem to have an average of about 60 to 70 students, which is where we got the idea
Got
for
it.
that as our number.
Okay.
And they also seem to have tuition between $7,000 and $10,000 per year for full-time study.
What would be considered a full-time student, the commitment, time-wise, hours-wise? Would
So-
it be a student that could also work?
So probably not. And the reason I say that is the course of study, and this was just presented at the board meeting on Saturday, was 8:30 in the morning until 8:30 at night, Monday through Friday. So
The answer is that.
pretty rigorous
Well, it sounds like
instruction.
a bargain if that's what the tuition is.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Michael, you might amplify a little bit about the endowment and the reserves, because I think probably people have the impression that once New Haven left, Big Daddy with the money left, and poor Academy is struggling. But you know, it's not that bad in a lot of respects. So it might be fruitful to, if you can.
I mean, we have a financial position that really, for a nonprofit, especially an arts nonprofit, is very enviable. So we've got an endowment that consists of about $6 million. Specifically, the artistic director is paid for from a gift that was made 7 or 8 years ago of some Berkshire Hathaway stock. And so he is funded, his salary is paid for from that gift. So we've got enough, while we're not quite at that full enrollment that we need, we've got the ability to draw from the endowment to cover us to the point where we get there.
Yeah, you get 3 years of getting to the roughly 60 or 70.
And to Greg's
Folks.
point, we've never had a conversation like this over the last 3-4 years. It was like, I don't know, what do you think? There was
Yeah.
nothing directed or guided or
Well,
didn't
Frank,
get
Frank
any
is still
sort of
involved,
answers.
and I think once he came in, he kind
Yeah.
of straightened things
So
out
this is
after
gonna-
our.
We thought we were paying for the executives
Yeah.
Yeah,
in there.
that's what it felt like.
We were just paying their salaries and that was it. And we didn't see any after that.
And
And
then-
also, but you talk about your endowment, a lot of it is restricted, so there's only so much you can go to certain areas. correct?
Less than you would think. So the biggest restriction is on that gift that throws off the money to pay for the artistic director. There's some giving, and Tim probably knows this, around the Sill House. There's a $500,000 gift I know of that's restricted just for the upkeep of the Sill House. But most of the rest of it is available for
Okay.
general operating.
That we were not told before.
I was going to say, we've never heard that.
And that's something, yeah, there was a lot of smoke. I'm relatively new to my role. I've only been the chair since December and on the board since last February. We have another new member, Paul Neeram, who's the former probate judge for the state of Connecticut. He joined, and he's looking into exactly that question to really nail down the fact what exactly is restricted and what governs the use of those endowment funds.
And then there is the obligation that remains outstanding to University of New Haven, which is on the books too. That's not an incisable number,
Yeah.
but there's some potential for that.
So three important things to consider, and I don't know. I think did I send you the most recent audit? If I haven't, I'll send that to you also, that you can see that. I think it's important that we're as transparent as possible with our finances. There is money per the dissolution agreement that's owed to the University of New Haven. It only kicks in if we liquidate the assets of the academy. So they said, we've invested. If you go out of business, we want to be repaid. The second is, quote, if we turn a profit. And there's been some suggestion that this could be forgiven at some point. So we plan to approach the University of New Haven to ask them.
And that's to the tune of $1.4 million.
A little bit higher, 1.8.
1.8. Yep.
In the past, we were also apprised that, okay, if we give you money, New Haven's just going to scoop it up. And we said, well, why are we
Why bother?
giving New Haven money? So that was a concern of ours.
They're not requiring principal or interest at this point, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what your paid staffing is at this point, but with COVID still going on, is there any PPP? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
That's available?
We did tap it during the first round
You
of
did.
the PPP last year, and I'm not sure if we will go back at it.
And we're expecting that will be a grant, hopefully.
That will be forgiven as opposed to
Okay.
treated as a loan.
Is that grant?
No, it's the RTC meeting.
Oh,
Something.
I thought you were, okay.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry, I'm
something
sorry
I
about
did.
Pointing rudely at you.
That's okay.
I apologize.
We won't hold it against you.
All right, anyone else on the phone have any other questions at all for Michael? Jude, anything
The
else?
question I have is, will we see a preliminary budget before we have to decide whether or not to award them the grant?
Is,
Or how does every, what's, that's.
well, let me ask Tim, has the request been revised officially? Have you gotten an official request? We got $1,000.
What we have is a July 1, 20 to June 30, 21 income statement, and then there's a July
Which we
19
would
through
send.
20 historical. I'm not aware of anything more current. I'm not sure what the most current.
No, that's what I have.
Do you have something more current?
No, that's what I have is what you have,
Okay.
but the request did come in for 20,000.
Right,
So
which
that's just
we-
not reflected in our book yet.
That's my question.
Yeah, so
So
a
we've got
letter was sent
1,000.
to you?
An email was sent to me for the 20,000 after this was put together, so it's brought to the table tonight.
I hadn't seen it, so that was my question as well, so thank you.
Okay.
In terms of the most recent financial, is there like an audit. The accountant prepares things periodically. It might be fruitful if the board would like to see that to get something a bit more current than, well, this is a projection of June 30, 21, but
All right, so I think the rest of our items for the nonprofits and beaches are pretty standard, so if we want to wait
Yeah.
just on that item.
Nothing else is changing.
Yeah, kind of, hopefully perfunctory, but I think it'll be in an order that will be welcomed by the board, given historical efforts, so.
Yes.
All right, so we'll change the request to 20,000 in the book. We'll have to push the overall approval of nonprofits, but we can go through the rest and check those off and just be prepared.
Hold on that.
Yeah, to hold
Okay.
on that. At the behest of the selectmen, if the selectmen recommend the 20,000, so you'll have a week to decide on that too. Okay. All right, so why don't we, I think,
That's great.
you're good, yeah, thank you
So
very much.
let me know if you need any follow-up information, and if you have thoughts about the academy that we didn't have a chance to sort of address here, or want to get more in, or come for a tour of
Well,
the campus. Jude was,
The other thing is, over the last, say, 8 or 10 years, when I would go there or Jeff would go there, we were up in the new office section. It was really refreshing to revisit the old part, walk through the library, and get back to what it originally was. So I had sort of forgotten about that.
Good. Okay.
Let me just say, this is BJ again, Mike, that the folks that I speak to, and it's a number of them, are just thrilled that you have come on as the chairman of the board and the new executive director, and you've really turned something that the town was worrying about into something that I think everybody is excited about. Thank you.
that's great. Thank you, BJ. That makes me feel great. Thank you for saying that. Okay, take care of yourself.
Have a good
Thanks
night.
very much.
You too.
Bye, Mike.
Okay. All set? So, library?
Okay, the library's request originally was going to be for 20,000 this year instead of 10.
An increase of.
Well, the increase. Right?
Increase of 20 instead of increase of 10 from their usual request of 10,000 a year. They were going to ask for 20. They have since resubmitted and are only asking for the 10 that they usually ask for.
Okay.
Partly because they feel that they can do some in-person fundraising in 2022, which they didn't expect.
Okay.
I think I shared with Nicole, I don't know if I went to everyone else, a copy of Katie's letter and revised budget and all those things.
I
if
did
anyone
forward it
needs
to
see
everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And it's, as far as I can tell, it's been an additional 10 every year for, I don't know, 10, 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So
At
the
one point,
percentage increase
Mhm.
goes down, but yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Good stuff. Flow
What's
Grizz.
next?
Want a motion on that?
Well, are
Hey,
you
know
going to do
what?
them all at once? or-
We'll do it all at once.
Okay.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, thank you.
I spoke to Becky at the Flow Grizz. Nothing, their request is the same as it's been. They are not asking for anything different. Of course, they said there was no reason to come and speak to the group. So their request is for $12,500. No change. Lime Art Association, the same way. All of these organizations are expressing that their costs are up because of COVID, but they realize that they're not in a position for us to ask for any more money, and they've held the line. What's next? Affordable housing. Nicole submitted.
Oh, no, that's not.
That's
on
now-
this.
That's not
here.
well,
Separate,
hope.
yeah.
What is the hope then?
That's
Tax
used
abate.
to be on here, but it's not in this section anymore.
Okay.
For the abatement,
Great.
so.
The last one is a historical society. I don't know if that was sent to you.
I got nothing from that.
I dropped off a copy of a revised request. from what's in the book, they've asked for an additional $1,000. They said they can't really use the facility or open it in any capacity without having air purifiers or additional cleaning, which they can't afford.
Somehow I have this.
Is that the budget?
I dropped one off the other day here at the town hall, and I thought maybe it was sent to all of you.
Did you see this?
No, no.
In the future, should we send them out ourselves to everyone, or should we be dropping them off here? I mean, I received this the other day, and I brought a copy to the town hall and thought it was going to be shared.
So what is their request was 6,500?
6,500. Now they're asking for 7,500. They need 1,000.
I guess what happens in May when everyone has been able to register for the vaccine, like the
Right.
current had.
I agree.
So
And the other thing is they were saying it was because they could not do in-person presentations, and therefore their donations had declined. I think that given
That's
their...
starting this year.
Right, and given their audience, if most of us are vaccinated in the next month or two, I don't see that's going to change their situation, other than they can open the door and people can come in and so on and so forth. So I said I would present the $1,000. I'm not sure they need to be buying air purifiers.
yeah, maybe we'll talk about that next week as well. So the question mark is on the 7,500, and we'll do a motion for everything next week. Is that okay?
I'm fine with it.
All right.
Tim, would they be able to get grants or anything, being a not-for-profit, apply?
Potentially, sure.
You still on the board there, Tim?
No.
Okay.
No, I think they've done very well.
Yeah.
So I think they have to just do a little harder work at fundraising and other things, just like anyone else.
I think everything's stagnant right now, and they're just going to have to sit tight like everyone else.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
your operating expenses should be less too. So.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Tax abatements.
There we go. So this is not in here. Okay, good.
It's in revenue, isn't it?
The under revenue. But nothing has come, I've sent everything by email, so there's really nothing that you guys would have other than what we sent through
Okay.
email.
What do we do, 80, 100%? Is that how it works?
We've done 75% across the board, but I think we have given Hope 100%, and that might be an issue, giving
Upstairs.
different percentages to the different organizations, and that's how we got in trouble before, so I would recommend doing the same percentage for all.
So the percentages were split now this past year?
Yes, I think we gave Hope 100% and the other one 75,
Okay.
I believe. It should be in here. No, it's not in here.
One's for-profit and the other's non-profit. But we got nailed with, well, I'm going to sue you.
Right.
Right.
See you in
You
court.
know, and it's still is a sticking point with me, but
Well, we still have that unresolved tax issue.
I was
too.
going to ask about that. Wasn't there an open tax invoice?
That's hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we couldn't find where to mail it, and we can't find anyone to deliver it to.
No, I think it's sort of Mexican standoff, and it's on a land record, so I don't think it's possible to go back and reverse things at this point. They would say that they'll have to pass that sort of an expense on to the people that own the structures. You see, the land
Right,
is owned
we
by
talked
Hope,
about
the
that.
buildings are owned by the occupants.
But they're reluctant to pass it along to the people who are
Oh,
occupying.
that's their sort of threat, that if they pay it would have to be back charged to the individuals. And, they spend $100,000 over here on the exit, and 70, so one wonders, but
How much is it every year?
3,000 in total, I
It
think.
is that much, so we're accumulating over
And,
time.
yeah, because they leaves and stuff, so. Now, the McCulloch property, there are 2 affordable house units off of Flat Rock Hill Road, at the cul-de-sac. McCulloch, in the purchase, designated 2 additional lots, which the Open Space Committee is working on, as well as affordable housing, to turn those into 2 more, and this service road would service 4 properties from Flat Rock. That has to be done within 5 years of those lots revert to open space. So we're a couple of years into it, but I think this, now the Affordable Housing Commission has been formed, I think that'll be one of the items that they will work on to make those 2 lots become a reality.
Okay, but so back to the tax problem, or collecting
Well, that
it.
is not necessarily Hope. Hope does the 2 that exist. The other 2, you might say it would be sensible to have Hope do all 4,
Right.
but it doesn't have to be that way. So that would have to be a process to see who would like to do something with those affordable houses, and I guess you basically must do a request for proposal type of thing, and if the land were donated or sold at a modest price, I think it's supposed to be sold, because I think open space would get money for the lots going to affordable.
I guess my concern is how do we resolve this tax deal?
Isn't one of the other things with Hope that they're supposed to send a letter?
Yeah, they're supposed to request it.
Exactly.
And they haven't done that?
No, they have sent their financials, as they
okay.
should have.
Okay, so
We've
they
got
have,
enough
because
financial-
last year they didn't, I don't believe.
Right,
So now they're in compliance.
Okay.
they've satisfied
It
that.
still doesn't relieve them of the past
No.
taxes that are owed.
And we're just going to keep building
Well,
on this, or?
if we give them the abatement, because now they've submitted the proper paperwork,
Well, we
They'll
did
get
last
up.
year too.
Without the
without the paperwork. I think we were hoping the paperwork would come in.
All right, so Tim, what is the suggestion for Limewood, Ryfield Manor, and Hope this year?
Well, we were just talking about it, whether everyone gets the same percentage, because we believe 75% for Limewood and Ryfield and 100% for Hope. Now, Hope's a smaller proposition.
Right.
It's 4 houses total, I think, right? I think it's 4 properties. Because they have 1 on Boggy Hole, the 2 on Ryfield, and then there's another one, I think.
And the 75 and 75 for Limewood and Ryfield Manor is consistent with what we've done for the past kind of 4 to 5 years, is my recollection. When we first made it consistent.
Oh, yeah, because it used to be 100% for Limewood.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And
think
Ryfield
we went
Manor
there 1
made
year.
the stink. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was probably 7 or 8 years ago.
But we're not going to stay at just 4 affordable housing pieces in town. This is going to be an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
So I think we need to.
Now, hopefully, the tax abatement goes to the homeowners. That would flow through to the homeowner, because if it's a pass-through, if it were less than 100%, then that extra 25% would be an additional expense that the homeowner would have to pay, I believe, the way it would work.
But it's 25% on the land.
Yeah.
The homeowner's already paying the taxes on the house.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it wouldn't be terribly much, but
Yeah, not for the land.
in the affordable.
Not now.
Well, if it was beachfront,
then it would be.
Why are you donating somewhere?
So it would be, right, if this is just the abatement for the land, then being consistent is probably important, so we don't get, my
That's
view,
how I feel.
we don't get back in the situation where we had Limewood and Ryfield Manor. So I'll entertain a motion if someone wants to make one.
I have a question. This is Anna. I mean, just for this year, because of the COVID situation and potential people getting more expenses on them, maybe we should just leave it the way it is right now and ask that the Affordable Housing Commission that's just been developed sort of come up with a standard, because I agree with what Jude said, that this isn't the only affordable housing that we're going to have in town, and it would be nice if there was like some sort of standard that we knew as the Board of Finance was what was agreed upon and acceptable, and homeowners understood it ahead of time, and land, all these people, all these different organizations. I feel like we're sort of making decisions without exactly knowing who's paying for what and what the expectations are, and I'm concerned that this year that is potentially really maybe very difficult for someone, whereas if there was a process that, maybe the selectmen could suggest that as a task to this board that, is figured out for the future, so that we're not having this discussion each year. Because I know we did do this last year too. We were trying to figure out what to give and how to make it better, and what was fair. And I think that's a real challenge to put on the Board of Finance, to figure that particular aspect of it out.
Yeah, I think Limeward and Ryefield Manor are pretty well settled. It's hope that is
right.
A question about what we do going forward. And again,
right.
Maybe 4 properties right now, but could be more.
And then, of course, if you had something such as Debo was proposing, which would be a 200-unit thing with 30% affordable, that would be a different model than little single family.
Exactly.
If he asks for tax abatement, So,
well, why not? He will.
Yeah.
Especially if it's been done before, even if it's only 1 or 2.
Yeah, I don't know if...
That's my concern.
Yeah. I don't know if they did tax abatement over at Old Saybrook or not. But anyway, so Anna's suggestion is to keep it the same as last year. So is there a motion for 75%?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to just leave them for this year, especially because of COVID, that the percentages stay the same for just this year
So
at this
it
moment.
will be 100%, because that was the percentage last year.
Yep.
And the other two at 75.
Yep, 75, 75, and 100.
Have it being noted as COVID?
No, I think it's just that's I'm definitely open to changing this in the future. I think I would be uncomfortable this year telling someone who's already in an affordable housing situation that we're going to change, what their expectations are this year. Whereas if there's a process for this, those people will be able to potentially be notified ahead of time that, like, this is what the suggestion is going to be, this is what we're going to propose to the Board of Finance. So they'll have an opportunity to plan for that.
Okay, is there a second? Garvin. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to add to it that, again, I hear what you're saying. I'm glad we're not putting the word COVID on it, because anybody could come back to us, including Ryefield and Limeward, and say, we're not getting 100% because of COVID. But I think over the years, we got to the point with Ryefield, and Limewood, because we did need and want to treat these organizations fairly and the same. And so we still have one that we're not treating the same. I think we've got to be very careful of that. So, and we should also look at how much are we talking per homeowner, because again, we're not talking about the homeowner getting an abatement on their home. It's the land their home sits on, which is significantly less, obviously, than what...
which they don't own.
Which they don't own it. And so, I would think Hope needs to come up with a way for them to pay for it. As Tim said, they came up with $100,000 for a prospective project off the highway. Somewhere that money came from. So they've got money somewhere.
So we need to make it...
I feel like we had this identical conversation last year.
Yeah.
We kicked it down the road.
Exactly.
And saying, it's too hard. It's like, we didn't make a decision. I feel like we're doing kind of the same thing again and setting ourselves up for liability because we don't treat the different organizations equitably. And I think ultimately we're going to have to make a decision.
And why can't we, this year would be tough given...
We said that last year.
Right, I agree. But why are we not pursuing this with Hope and giving them notice now that here on in, you are going to be treated the same as the other two organizations in town?
I'm pleased that they sent us information.
But
it's the first time they've done that.
Maybe to Jude's point, we could have this discussion as a Board of Finance just on the agenda in July or August, that, we'd like to talk about tax abatements then and give these folks notice that there's going to be
No tax abatement.
they have a year to plan for this, but if they can't come up with it, we need to make it fair. If they'd like to have a discussion with us, that's great. We'd love to have that. But going forward, this is what it's going to be.
It would be good to get the...
And then that gives everyone a head start on knowing exactly where they stand.
It'd be good to get the opinion of the Affordable Housing Commission, because
That's where Anna
the
started
committee
with
did
this.
a great job.
Yeah.
They're transforming into a commission, and we're trying to populate that with the people, because not all the people
Maybe
are
this is their
moving from
first
the
job.
committee to the commission.
Yeah, I agree. It should be one of the tasks at hand for them.
Yeah, and that would be a good assignment for them, and
Yeah, so maybe if the selectmen can direct the commission to tackle that, and then it doesn't fall through the cracks, to Matt's
because
point, for another year.
This coming year, they have to come up with an affordable housing plan for the town by July of not this year, but next year. So this could all fold into that pretty nicely.
All right, any further discussion? 75-75, 100% is currently the motion. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. To direct affordable housing. Okay, great. General Government, Tax Collector's Office.
There was a meeting, I had a meeting with the department this morning. There were some recommended changes. There's going to be another meeting Thursday morning. And so I think if we have this ready to go next week, we will be there.
Okay, push to next week. All right. Ethics Commission. That, we've got some correspondence on it.
Well, I didn't send this to everyone. I had a conversation with the chairman. I think I sent you something. What I can do would be to make a copy of these things, because I didn't know it was going to be on the agenda. But let me just kind of paraphrase here. Originally, the Ethics Commission wanted $7,500, and a lot of it was going to be money to redo the ordinance concerning the Ethics Commission. I spoke with Jane Cable, the new chairman, and said, "Gee, that's pretty ambitious. We're not sure. We haven't heard a whole lot about changing the ordinance. I mean, the ordinance was created a number of years ago. Glenn Silmacy and Jack Collins were on the formation committee and created the ordinance, and it seemed like it's been doing okay. So she had different ideas, and so we pared it back to $1,900 suggestion, which would be a little bit of exploratory work, but more just providing for some administrative type stuff. She came back with the $7,500 again, and then recently priced it out and came back with nearly $5,400, $5,390. I spoke with her on the phone today, and we were having a frank discussion about things, and I said, well, who is going to determine that the ordinance is no good as written? You? Or what? And, she says, well, I've been 30 years in the business and all this stuff. So I said, well, it's probably there have to be some opinions on this, and it's just to go ahead and change things, I think if you're going to do some exploratory work, there should be a paper coming back saying we think that the ordinance is deficient, or even if she had a lawyer do a little bit of work and came back with a recommendation as to...
We looked at other towns.
Yeah.
There's a reason for changing things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, well, obviously this is the budget season, so she was concerned that if it didn't get a budget that they'd have to wait a whole nother year and limp along. And I said, well, in the past, the Ethics Commission's sort of been the Maytag repairman of the commissions around here. You know, you might have a case once every couple of years, and it's pretty sleepy. So, but I respect her opinion, saying it might have shortcomings, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
So she said, well, we would come back with some initial stuff and make a recommendation. And I guess the selectmen could look at that and share it with whomever, and then we could go forward based on more consensus as opposed to just the commission itself. So I said, well, I don't know how, you know, we could either put some money in for the exploratory work, or we could put what you suggested here with the clear understanding that it would be incremental, that you would be allowed to do so much, come back with a recommendation, and then if the consensus is to proceed with a new or redone ordinance in some way, then the green light would be given at that point. So it's
So it looks like this is getting pushed for $500 to March 22nd. The difference is $500 between $53.90 and $48.90. One suggestion is get her started with $48.90, and if the Ethics Commission in toto comes back and says, hey, we did some work and we think that it is deficient, we need some more money, they could conceivably come back to us for it.
As we've done on some other things, if you approve that, that would pay for the whole thing, ostensibly. However, if the lawyer said all you need to do is change a couple of paragraphs and instead of $2,500 to do the code revision, it might be $600, who knows?
Right.
But it might be you have so many dollars to do this initial phase, then we'll look at it, and then the green light would have to be given to proceed with the rest of it.
So March 22nd would be a discussion with Jane, right? With the selectmen, is that what's being suggested? And then we need to come back to it?
If that, I mean, it's kind of pushing it late in the game, but that would be helpful.
It's small potatoes was my point.
Yeah.
And so if everyone feels strongly that that's got to happen, it's fine. It's going to be perfunctory at that point, I think, to approve it. But
Tim, do you feel that $1,900 is enough for them to get started, and then, if need be, for them to come back?
Well, I said that, you know, a lot of times groups will come back to the Board of Finance during the year and get additional money.
Right.
So whether you try to lay the whole thing out and then have gates to go through with stoplights, or whether you just give them X number of dollars to get to the next point, give them a little more to go to the next point.
yeah, again, managing attorneys' work is a complicated art. And so I think that your point is right in terms of having gates to go through and milestones, and you get a memo out of somebody, and then it says, oh, that does make sense because we looked at 5 other towns to make the revisions, or it says it's enough to stop here.
Yeah.
But my question procedurally is, tonight, can we get something approved? And if we can't, if you don't feel it's the right time,
I think we should, because we haven't totally vetted this, the selectmen haven't seen this yet, and so if we
so
can,
we'll push that.
yeah.
Though, and
Comment
push,
I have on it
I'm sorry,
is
The
that,
23rd?
can you give us an outline of the potential problems
Yeah,
that you
and the
are
process.
feeling that you need to be addressed?
Yeah, she must have some idea.
Yeah, there's nothing now because we need this much.
We've got a blank piece of paper.
I suggested that. I said, you know, you've got 5 members and 3 alternates. I don't know if they populated the whole thing, but at least 5 people now. So why couldn't each member get an ordinance from a different town and look at it and compare notes? And, you know, and she said, well, the lawyer would be cognizant of probably all this stuff. So I don't know.
but
It's all or nothing, it sounds like.
Together.
Huh?
yeah, I like in your conversation. Oh, I'm sorry, BJ, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me ask this. Something that Tim said a couple of minutes ago I thought made sense to me. If I round the numbers, I thought Tim was suggesting that the board today authorized, say, $5,000, not $48.90, in my words, $5,000 with 2,000 of those dollars authorized to be spent on an exploratory basis for the Ethics Commission to then come back to the Board of Selectmen with information or advice regarding amending the code. And if and only if the Board of Selectmen says, yeah, you've convinced us that's something that should be done, would the additional $3,000 be authorized for expenditure? Isn't that the kind of step process, Ken, you were suggesting?
Yeah, there's a bit of administrative that's separate and distinct from this review process, but yes, I think you're right. And probably the lawyer, as part of that exercise, could project the expenses himself as opposed to the commission, so that we know clearly that he thinks what he thinks would be the time required to finish it out.
Well, that's fair enough. There's no point in authorizing $3,000 for a $7,000 job.
Yeah. Well, Jane estimated these, it's something like $4,500.
No, but your point is well taken. That Jane's estimate is different from the lawyer who's going to do its estimate.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan to say there's an initial ability to get something done that's significant, and then we'd all be better for it.
So do you still want to the 23rd to have that?
Well, if there's, I'd like to share it with the selectmen, because this is happened subsequent to our previous discussions.
Yeah.
So, given the size, maybe we can, we got an idea where we're going, but yeah, that'd be helpful.
Okay. Push to the 23rd. Historic District.
I'll make a motion for $4,700.
Yeah, why did we push that?
I don't know.
Because we didn't know if they needed legal and you were going to follow up on that.
Yes.
Sorry.
We found out that there's another invoice for Sussman Shapiro with respect to analyzing signage in the historic district. So the amount that they owe the law firm, or that we paid the law firm, is instead of $1,400 and some odd, it's $2,475. So when you consider that, and then you consider the advertising, because when they grant a certificate of appropriateness to somebody in the district, they have to have a public hearing on it, and that costs about $250 to advertise. So between the two things, they would need about $700 more for the advertising and $2,475. So rounded up to $3,200 in this year's budget. Martha believes that this will be sufficient to carry them through.
But that is this year's budget.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And so how about, let's handle that separately.
Because we're talking about
21, 22.
Right.
Are they going to need any more than what you just laid out there?
Well, they've always spent around $4,700.
But if there's anything hanging out there from this little
Well,
exercise,
that we may have to fix now.
right?
Yeah. If it's going to carry over, you mean?
I think that the budget in our sheet is for $4,700, which is the clerical of $3,000, a couple of office supply postage, advertising $1,150. According to what they've done, they probably need almost $2,000 for advertising. If these hearings are, now maybe they just had a rash of them, who knows, but they would certainly not use it if they didn't have to. And then they do not have a legal line at all. She doesn't think that this legal situation is going to be an ongoing thing, but there could be perhaps a line item of a modest amount just in case they had to do something of a legal nature. Certainly they wouldn't have to replicate this sign ordinance, or the sign thing in the historic district, but she thought maybe if there was 500 for legal, so,
New line item?
New line?
yeah.
Control or no?
Okay.
I mean, miscellaneous and other.
Sounds better to add to the
850.
Okay.
058.
So is that 59?
I-
59.50?
I got 6,050, but you could say
6,050.
$6,000 and that we could sprinkle it between advertising and legal.
And what did you say advertising would be?
I threw in close to 2,000. That could be moved one way or to make it balance. But if you did 500 on legal and
Boosted advertising to 2,000?
Or you want to boost it to 1950, so the total budget equals 6,000? Is that where you're trying to
yeah,
get,
but
Tim?
if we make a legal line so we don't get into trouble, if
Yeah.
we have a legal bill, we don't know where to put it.
Yeah, no,
You could do. You kind of don't like to have other miscellaneous become a great big number.
no,
So if we said legal, then it's at least defined.
yeah,
So legal
Okay.
500,
Yep.
advertising close to 2,000, depending on making it balance to 6,000, and the other stuff stays the same.
1950.
1950, I think.
So 6,000 bottom line.
Yeah,
3,000 for clerk, 75 each for the office supplies and postage, 1950 for advertising, 400 for miscellaneous, and 500 for legal.
New
yeah,
legal.
but make it. You could take some out of advertising just to make it 6,000.
I think that's what I
That's
did.
what it
Yeah.
is. He just did.
$1,950 instead
All right.
of
So
2,000.
6,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Russell, Garvin. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, good.
Yeah, I
Now,
was
the
thinking
second
the same
item
thing.
is this
We're gonna
year's
discuss
budget,
it.
right, Tim?
Yes. And
So-
I
It's going to be
believe.
under other business, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll handle that under other business.
Okay.
What, the commission?
Yeah, the
For this
extra money
year's.
for this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just add that so I don't forget.
Sound
Okay.
view?
Sound view.
I haven't.
Dave, you were supposed to go back to Soundview Commission and see what increase for the bocce courts.
Oh, that's right.
And
And
we don't know.
Take that as pushing off.
I pushed
It's gonna be a
something
really
myself.
quick
How
meeting.
shameful. Okay.
We're going to break out that miscellaneous line a little more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Man, this is terrible.
We're having a rough
unproductive.
night.
All right, so that takes
he
care of
was
the
coming
boards
up
and commissions.
Next week.
Next week, the 16th?
Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Got one to approve.
Suspense list.
Oh,
Anybody print? Oh, no.
he
I
emailed
looked
it.
at it.
Yeah, I
I
got
looked
it.
at it.
It was sent to everyone.
You didn't lose it, right? Because I have to give it back to Judy.
We got.
We have it on
Email
every
copies.
computer.
No.
Oh, the original.
Tim, do you have it?
What?
Do you have the suspense list?
I do.
That's good.
Michelle was getting worried.
Okay. Don't take
Well,
that out of your
it's a
sights.
copy anyway. It's not the.
No, that's the original.
All right, did we have any collections over the last week?
No, there was a current employee on there, but I don't know that she made the change. I sent her an email just to tell her that the new address she didn't have, but.
Oh, new address.
Yeah, but it's immaterial, so I mean, I guess if it gets
If
approved,
someone's-
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Deceased, do they come off the list? I mean, Dave Grimes is on there. He's been gone for a few years.
Who was gone before that?
Yeah, huh?
Oh, no, no.
What'd you say? No, he died. He's on there. Here.
Well, we can always give money to Judy after this.
Oh.
And it'll,
Got
it'll
it.
take it for sure.
All right.
So do we have to make a motion to accept it?
Are we
You
supposed
have
to
to approve it.
We have to
Yeah,
approve the
that's right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the suspense list.
I'll second.
Russell,
Can someone tell me the amount that has to be in the minutes?
yeah,
Because
Gross got it.
it's an auditing step.
It's right there.
They verify that we,
Did you want an adjustment of any sort to it?
Because that was accurate as of that point.
right.
Or it's in different parts?
Well, let's make the motion for the
Did you have
dated
total on the
suspense, the suspense list dated as of.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Tim, may I have that?
You have to sign it.
Oh, that's right. I'm gonna look under
He's
K.
the chief of police, too.
That's a privilege I would
I know.
Well, that's just her letter.
I get Tim.
Because there's little sections, it's like subtotals.
Don't make me push this too.
Because you have motor vehicle, then you have supplement, and you add all this stuff up, right?
No, it's right here. She told it up in the letter.
Now,
Hopefully it adds, I don't know. It's done, I don't know.
oh, this is all about Chapman.
Right at the bottom.
Okay, O line, total, 25,060.78.
Suspense list dated as of, Tim, also for the minutes? Do you have
Well, she has on here March, but let's see here. This thing is March 1.
well, let me just look at her totals. Yeah. Should separate personal property from motor vehicles.
Oh, there's a lot of little subsections in those reports, so.
Two. There we
Nicole,
go.
you look
That
like
ties
you're in
out.
pain.
That ties out. That ties out. That ties out. That ties out.
I had a root canal yesterday,
You poor thing.
but they're off.
Did you really? Are you like? Are you okay?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm on meds, so
Drugs ain't working.
Right, that's what
it's fine.
I'm trying to get us out of here. All right. So that number is correct. 25,060.78, the suspense list dated as of March 1st, 2021. Russell made the motion, Reed seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay.
Now, do we want to do the registrars too? Or did we do that last time?
We didn't do that.
Yeah. We'll push that. So we'll do that under other business. Next on the agenda is capital project. It's kind of a preview, right?
I was going to say,
Some more
well,
discussion?
I didn't know this was on the agenda. So
Oh, it's just a
it's from
preview.
today, so
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
not-
what Tim wants.
It was just if we had time, we could just start sniffing at it. But it's not to do anything major to it.
Yeah. But did you have any high-level comments you wanted to introduce for people to reflect on for the next week, or not? It's fine.
Like grassy hill?
Yep,
Yeah, that's one.
one of many.
That's not in here even. That's going to be new.
Dave, I do think the comments that you made in your email regarding the distribution of the school expenses
Yes.
may be germane to the capital discussions. I think once that time comes, we should consider that.
Yes, so just as a reminder for that, and if proportionately Lime goes up in the same proportion as Old Lime does, then there's not going to be a shift. But Ian alluded to that last week or whenever we had him before us, that there is a shift, and even a 1% shift is $330,000 or whatever it is, right? So just as an order of magnitude. So we're not going to know that number until April 1st-ish, because it's an average between October's enrollment and April 1st enrollment. So we're still going to be, and I forgot to look at the calendar.
We're going up 0.6%, 81.2 to 81.8.
So far, but Ian said 7 more kids.
But more kids moved in, and they
Just last week.
Yeah, you sprinkled the ground,
And I don't know when they lose the next board member.
and
It's
Is the
similar
board
with
member
the state
apportioned
though.
on percentage of pay in the
We don't know
building?
what we're gonna get from them until
They go down to
late
1.
in the
Right.
budget too.
yeah,
Exactly.
they actually have been doing okay this year. So, but you're right. You're kind of stabbing in the dark a little bit. But this is the first time that it's been as stark as it could conceivably be. So, at any rate, we've got capital discussion next week. So that's the 16th. And maybe there's some 80-20 rule that we put in place. And if there's some nice to haves in there, we've at least next week discussed what those nice to haves are. So
No
that,
surprise.
yeah.
Another little treat, I got a communication from the colonel of the state police. Pursuant to the language, please know that the state police shall not be responsible for the purchase or storage of data from dashboard
Already?
cameras or body cameras for any resident, trooper, town constables. State police will also not be responsible for the associated costs of fulfilling FOI requests associated with the
That's the big one.
Yep.
Because if towns don't band together,
I think we need to get our reps right away.
big time.
yeah.
Because he said that they were doing our dash cams now,
Right.
so it means we're going to get that dumped in our lap.
And we figured that to be about 50 grand or something.
At least.
Who knows?
It's the FOI part of it. I mean, collecting the data and storing it is one thing, and
Yeah.
space is pretty cheap, but it's figuring out how to set it up so that it can be accessed and filed properly so you can get it out of there when you need it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a new position.
Well, if they have a service
Right.
now, why not just put another person or two in there and kind of
Split them.
Because the
Cross.
colonel said he doesn't want to do it.
Well, I think you're right. I think we've got to get Mr. Formica and Carney,
Everybody.
and get
Needleman.
And get the resident state troopers in here too to
Yeah.
quantify it.
Yeah.
That or we get PPP money for it.
Is,
yeah, 1 year.
That only-
They can
yeah,
have an
that only
office
goes
at your
for-
place.
for a year.
it's,
Oh, actually, the new bill.
it's a state mandate or a federal mandate?
Well, the state legislature passed the
Right.
accountability thing.
So the state is not funding this at all,
Right.
once again.
Yeah.
So
Funding
time to
mandate.
talk to our, what number is this?
Yeah.
So,
All right. So
Devin,
email to Formica and
Yeah.
Evan and
Yeah.
anybody else from up and down the shore.
Send them a copy of that letter.
This came
Yeah,
out March
I
5th, so
Yeah.
just in time for the
Friday.
budget.
Right.
You're lucky you got it this soon.
yeah, I was
It was
gonna
mailed
say,
on March
probably
5th.
be after.
All right. So
Great.
we've
Don't
got
turn the cameras on.
other business, and under
Your
other
game.
business we can go
Great
back to what's that? Under other business we can go back to the historic district for this
Well,
year
historic
For the legal?
district,
for the legal that they're going over.
I think after discussions with Martha and Nicole and stuff, we've captured everything, and $3,200 should take care of them through the balance of the year. They're not expecting to spend any more legal, and they're mapping out advertising through the end of the year, so they'll hopefully wind up with a few extra dollars.
So over and above, because they've got as a, well, this was in January. You're talking about an incremental
June 30th,
allocation though, right? Incremental to their current budget.
correct.
$3,200?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion for $3,200 for the 2021 budget for Historic District.
I'll make that motion for legal primarily.
Legal
You have
and
to have it,
advertising.
I mean, they don't have a legal line though, Nicole, right?
Right, so we can't add legal.
So
So this year there's going to be other miscellaneous.
that'll have to go under miscellaneous?
Yep.
Okay.
But it would be $24.75 for legal and about
$725.
$700 almost for the other one.
Advertising.
So do you want it split out that way, Nicole? 2,500 for miscellaneous and 700 added to the advertising line
Sure,
for a total of 3,200?
sure.
Okay. Russell, there's a motion on the table.
Second.
Anna? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
D both said
Any
no.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
And the other thing,
Página dos.
under the registrars, they too had, Nicole, did you look at any of mine or no? Would you like to review that before we do it?
Well, there is some carryover that we're going to be able to use. They're going to be over anyways, regardless.
Well, that's what I kind of figured.
But wait. So we had talked about this, I think, in prior Board of Finances, that we were going to wait till June to see what they're over in total. So we can do one thing. The one thing that I wanted the Board of Finance to understand is that they've requested an additional $2,000, $1,800 from hours for their staff person, their admin. So that's going to, if you're okay with them doing that, that'll even throw them more over.
We talked about that last week, right?
Right.
Well, that was
No, that's
1,800 in the budget
Right.
for next year. You're talking about 1,800 between now and June.
Right.
That's in here. I can show this to you so you can.
No, I know, I've seen that, but they're going to be over anyway, so we're going to have to give them money for their department anyways, just because of the election.
At the end of the year.
I just want the Board of Finance to understand, they had asked Tim to authorize another $1,800, so it'll, of more
5
hours,
months.
more hours for their admin, so that'll throw it even more than what we've estimated. So I just want to,
Make us aware.
But they-
The selectmen will make that decision whether they allow them to do more hours.
Do they need it to get the work done? If it's because someone's just coming in to sit here, that's one thing, but if there's work to be done and they need
They're
the
doing
help,
all
I
this
understand.
canvassing,
Right?
verifying the voter lists and everything, so.
Which certainly needs to be cleaned up.
You go back 3 or 4 years and, it's, of course, they've been given a lot more stuff to do too, and just like the town clerk, and it's gonna get worse.
For many other
They're all-
departments in here, this building.
Because you wait, with all this
Oh, yeah.
absentee ballots being the way we're gonna go, it would be worse.
Yep.
Okay.
So we wait till June.
So we're
we
aware
kinda know
that there
where
will
they
be
are.
more money that they're owed.
yeah.
Thank you.
Harbor Management Contracted Services.
Seems like an odd place to, 202.
What did we do there?
Yeah,
Contracted
and then
services.
suspense list again.
I have contracted services. We had
That's
approved.
what we have on the second.
We approved
page.
harbor management last week for
This is
2680.
March 10th from last year. It's March
Oh.
10th of
Oh,
last year.
so this is just,
This,
I got you.
Get rid of it.
nine.
Down to
But
other
do we have any
business.
other business?
You're not gonna approve
like the
any
end of this.
other associations tonight? No?
We're gonna wait until we hear from the
We're going to try to do it all.
Art Academy, and then once we get more information from them, pass it all at once, right?
Yeah. Yep. Other business,
Did you have anything other?
other-ish. I have no other business. Does anyone else have any other business?
I brought up my other business last week.
Yeah. Stay out of,
It's old business.
stay out of others' business.
It is now.
Monkey business.
Monkey.
Same old song and
All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that
Dinner's
motion.
ready yet.
Motion. Mr. Russell, is there a second?
I'll second. Get anything done?
Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next week's gonna be.
All right.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we didn't take the pain this week.
No.
Thank you, Nicole. I didn't take the pain this week.
Thank you.
Thank you all on the phone.
Thank you.
Pleasure.